an ode to people who don't believe in themselves. What comes first, belief or action? Do you need to believe that you can do a thing before you can do it? Fake it until you make it is one option, but incredibly hard if you're introspective and have low self-belief and high standards. So what about make it until you believe it? Here are some lessons that I've learned. You can believe you're not worthy of a thing and still attain it. You can be adamant that your efforts are going to go badly and still succeed. You can grip and grasp and fear and it ruin the enjoyment and be totally unwarranted and things still go well. You can have no self-belief and show up anyway. You can want more for yourself without knowing exactly what that looks like. You can doubt the process, question your talent, be uncertain that you're making progress, disparage your accomplishments, permanently feel like you're not working hard enough no matter how hard you work, never give yourself a break, fail to fully feel gratitude, be terrified of never reaching your goals, and still end up in a place that your 20-year-old self could not imagine you'd ever get to. Self-belief is overrated. Generate evidence.
Now you're starting to believe yourself. You're starting to believe that inner voice. You're starting to believe in your actions. You're starting to believe in who you are. You're starting to believe in your words. You're starting to believe in your dreams. You're starting to believe in your thoughts. You're starting to believe in your actions. So what happens after that? What's the next step? Doubt. Listen. Believing. Now you start to trust the one person that you should have always trusted, that other individuals told you not to trust, and that's you. Because you're finally listening to that voice. You're finally starting to have self-belief. You stop doubting yourself for the moment. And you start to grow. You trust yourself. You trust your actions. You trust your words. Now what happens after trust? You start to grow.
You've worked way too hard to let one season of darkness convince you that there's no light at the end of the tunnel. As consistent as I try to be at my job, my workouts, my own personal improvements, each and every week is still full of ups and downs. Some runs, even just a few miles, feel like pulling teeth. Other longer ones, I feel unstoppable, like I could go on forever. Some days it's so easy to get into a flow state, and I feel like I'm on track to achieving everything I've ever hoped for. And I'd be lying if I said these highs and lows didn't used to discourage the shit out of me, man. But recently I've just been embracing the fact that nothing lasts forever, good or bad. No success or accomplishment is permanent, but it also means that no failure is permanent either, not unless you let it be. So if you feel like you've just been against a wall, like you can't break out of a bad cycle, like you've been trying everything but nothing's working, like you wish you could control everything that you can't control, that season of darkness, just keep on knocking, because you're getting exactly what you wanted. So dedicate yourself to all of it. The dreams, the work, the suffering, the hopelessness. When you signed up for all of it, you knew exactly what was expected of you, so you'd better meet the standard. Or you can turn temporary into permanent. Convince yourself that this bump in the road is a life sentence, that it's just too hard. Let one season define your year and let 1 year define the rest of your life. Or maybe now the clay's just finally starting to get warm and something's about to happen, something's about to change. But that's entirely up to you to stick out to find out.
Don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems. Wish for more skills. The same wind blows on us all. The difference in where we arrive at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year is not the wind that blows. And the wind is blowing around the world.
And it's important because otherwise you can be afraid of pursuing the things that you want to pursue, right? And that's very common. And so then the fear inhibits you as the promise pulls you forward, but it makes you weak because you're afraid. You want to get your fear behind you, pushing you. And so what you want to be is more afraid of not pursuing your goals than you are of pursuing them. It's very, very helpful. And lots of times in life, and this is something really worth knowing, you don't get to pick the best thing. You get to pick your poison. You have two bad choices and you get to pick which one you're willing to suffer through. And every choice has a bit of that element in it. And so if you know that, it's really freeing, because otherwise you torture yourself by thinking, well, maybe there's a good solution to this, compared to the bad solution. It's like, no, sometimes there's just risky solution 1 and risky solution 2. And sometimes both of them are really bad, but you at least get to pick which one you're willing to suffer through, and that actually makes quite a bit of difference.
It's easy to be a victim, bro. It's easy to believe that the world just happens to you. It's easy to believe that the state of your existence is entirely the result of other people's decisions, or it's just luck. Falling short and then blaming everything else but yourself is the easy path. It's the path that hurts the least. But what you're not thinking about is the fact that there's no reward at the end of it. Your life is going to be shitty. Nothing is going to go the way you want. Then you're going to get to the end of your life, you're sitting on your deathbed, and once again, you're going to blame everyone else. You're going to look back at your life and say, at least it wasn't my fault. Is your dog life simply not being your fault worth having a dog life? The best path forward is the hard path. The path where everything is your fault. The path where no matter what happens in your life, you find what you did wrong so you can do it better the next time. The path where there's always something for you to learn. That is the path that hurts the most. But it's the path that's going to make you the best person, and it's the path that's going to lead to the best life.
The reason people are afraid of the word obsession and they like to stay in the interested area. Because when you're interested about something, when you're passionate about something, it's this beautiful daydream. It's this beautiful, euphoric rainbow. But you know what the obsession is? The obsession lives in your nightmare. Obsession lives in your nightmare. That's why people love to work with passionate people. Oh, they're so passionate. They're so easy to work with. Individuals that are obsessed, they're nightmares to work with. You know why? Because every detail matters.
Because you have probably dealt with everything that life has thrown at you so far. Do you think that it's because of the way that you grasped and controlled and feared and ruminated? Or could it be because you're a capable, competent, gifted person and the world is fundamentally fair, and over a long enough time horizon, most people get what they deserve? You're doing this for you. We judge people based on how much life they can tolerate, how much feeling they can deal with and carry and enjoy. And that's something that we should all try and have more of in ourselves, being that person that your younger self wanted as a role model.
It says facing fear isn't about being fearless. It's about being brave enough to move forward despite the feeling. That's what courage is. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's deciding to do it afraid, right? We look at these people, man, they're so courageous. They have the same emotion that you have. They're just deciding to act through it rather than allow the emotion to stop them from moving.
Go into the unknown, because you already know what you know. And that's not enough unless you think you're enough. And if you're not enough and you don't think you're enough, then you have to go where you haven't been. You can't make yourself interested in something. Interest manifests itself and grips you. That's a whole different thing. And so what is it that's gripping you? And how do you conceptualize that? Is that a divine power? Well, it's divine as far as you're concerned because it grips you and you can't do anything about it. And so there's a calling in you towards what you're compelled by and what you're interested in. And sometimes that might be very dark and sometimes not. But you're compelled forward by your interest. And so the idea that what moves you away from your country and your father's house and the comforts of your childhood home is something that's beyond you and that you listen to and hearken to. That's exactly right. If you do not listen to that thing that beckons you forward, you will pay for it like you cannot possibly imagine. You'll have everything that's terrible about life in your life and nothing about it that's good. And worse, you'll know that it was your fault and that you squandered what you could have had.
Fear and doubt, not the same. How many times have you felt pressure and how alive you felt underneath that pressure? When pressure was a privilege, when it excited you, that's fear. Fear is about the pressure. It's about embracing the pressure. It's about wanting the pressure. It's about not allowing the pressure to get to you, but to propel you. You thrive on it. You look for it. You can't live without it. And what does doubt do in a pressure situations? You panic. You panic. Fear is an ally. Doubt is an enemy that you created.
So one of my favorite quotes that I try to live by each day is, "A man who procrastinates his choosing will inevitably have his choice made for him by circumstance." Because the only thing we ever have on our side is the time we choose to take advantage of right now. The opportunities of possibility in front of us at this very moment that only require a down payment of today's effort, which honestly isn't even as big of a cost as it seems, considering how good you'll always feel knowing that you give a shit about yourself by actually trying today. So I'd rather do all the hard now. If it means I have to run further, lift harder, work longer hours, day in, day out, it's not easy, I get it. But that's the whole fucking point. Because it's a smaller price you have to be willing to pay today to avoid a life sentence of questions you'll never be able to answer because you kept intentionally putting things off even when you knew your future self would hate you for it. If you keep skipping out on your daily opportunities, which are honestly the greatest ones you'll ever have in your life, don't ever let yourself be just a default decision from never doing anything that made you feel worthwhile.
They'll say you're doing too much, that you need to slow down. But what they're really saying is your effort exposes their lack of it. They'll question why you're up before the sun, why you push when it hurts, and why you don't just take the easy way out like everyone else. And one day, when the results they didn't believe in start showing up, they'll ask how you did it and wish they started when you did. The world doesn't reward those who seek approval. It rewards those who stay in the game long enough to prove they never needed it.
Motivation is garbage. It's garbage because it's not there when you really need it. Because knowing what you need to do, it's not enough. It's just not enough. The clock is ticking. Waiting for motivation to strike is basically saying it's never going to happen.